Hi, this is Ibarionex from the Candid Frame. One of the questions I'm asked periodically about these videos is what am I looking for in the photographs that I pick? And it's not that I'm looking for the quote unquote best photographs. There are some wonderful photographs in here, but I'm not looking for what I consider the best, superior to all the other photographs. What I'm looking for is something that's, I have to admit, is probably a little selfish of me, is I want photographs that challenge the way that I see. I'm looking for inspiration here, not just to get out and shoot, but I want to see examples of photographs where photographers have done something that I would not have chosen to do, or or are seeing the world in a way that I'm not accustomed to seeing. Because when I go out there, what I don't want to do is I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to go out there and just make the same pictures over and over again, even if those pictures are what other people would say are good photographs or even great photographs. That's all well and good. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to push myself further than I did the last time I went out and shot. So when I'm looking at photographs, I I want to get excited about how someone else is seeing, and that's what revolved around why I chose several of the pictures that I chose for today. Now here we have this picture by Andrea Bogart. No XF information here, but this image really excited me because we have all these disparate elements, and within the context of the frame, everything works. We have this guy lighting a cigarette, wearing sunglasses in the extreme left of the frame. We have a person here whose hand is peeking around the corner of the door. We have this woman who's standing by the ATM. We have what I think is the reflection of a window of a building across the street on the right hand corner. All of these things have no relationship to each other than the fact that they're occupying the same space. And you think about how we typically would see how we see images. We see a singular element, one thing, like say for example, this guy smoking a cigarette, and the default is to see that guy to the exclusion of everything else. We see him walking down the street. We see him about ready to light a cigarette, and we go, "Oh, that would make a great picture." But are we paying attention to everything else that's happening around that person, around that moment? And I think this picture by Andre really exemplifies how I need to be open, not just to the singular element, not just to that subject that is piquing my interest, but to everything else that's happening, so that I can make a choice to position myself in just the right spot so that I can take all these elements that have really no relationship to each other in the real world, but within the context of my frame, there is a relationship that has to exist. And I think that this shot speaks to that. And this kind of seeing doesn't happen naturally. It doesn't happen instinctively. We're kind of trained to focus on one thing and one thing only when we're looking at things. But as a photographer, you have to start thinking about, well, how does the camera see? And the camera is not being very discriminatory. It doesn't know anything. It just knows what's passing through the lens and hitting the sensor or that piece of film. But as a photographer, we have to be conscious of the fact that the camera is going to include things or exclude things that we are not aware of sometimes, but that we do need to be aware of. And images like that really speak to me because this is the kind of image, if not exactly in terms of composition what I'm looking to do, but it's that kind of awareness that I'm aspiring to have, where I'm almost omniscient in what I'm experiencing when I'm out there photographing. And this is just a great shot. Now here's this shot by Bill Brassard. He was using an Fuji X100S, shot at 125th of a second at 5.6 at ISO 1600. He titles this Seattle to Houston Flight 2015. So it was obviously a flight that he had on a plane, and it seems like more than likely it was the light from the monitors, the television monitors that are mounted on the seats, that was providing the illumination for this guy's face. And this is very different, right, from the shot before. where we had all this sort of busyness within the context of the frame that the photographer was able to sort of unify here. Here we don't have all of that. Here the shot is almost the exact opposite of that first shot. It is as simple as it can be. It is light illuminating this man's face and being shot in profile. But it's no less indicative of the kind of seeing that I'm trying to encourage with myself. Because how many times have you or I sat in a plane and we're just waiting to get to where we're going to get? And we're not really looking. We're just kind of waiting in our seats, trying to find some distraction to pass the time, whether it's a magazine, whether it's a television program, whether it's a book on tape, whatever it is, right? But we're not seeing. And Bill here did a wonderful job of being able to see this moment and to recognize it for it being a great photo opportunity. Because all we have is this guy's face and the light on his face, but it's such a beautiful and remarkable shot. Because when I'm on a plane, I'm always carrying a camera with me, but I can probably count on my hand how many times I've actually made a photograph within the cabin of the plane. And that's not to say that there aren't opportunities to photograph on the plane. This shot tells me that there is, but it's about me turning on that switch, keeping it on at all times, and constantly seeing and viewing and experiencing that moment that I'm in, so that when a situation like this presents itself, I'm able to recognize it. I'm able to see it. I'm able to have that camera ready, raise it to my eye, and make a wonderful photograph. And this is just a wonderful, wonderful shot. As simple as it is, it's great, not just for the way it looks, but just for the fact that Bill was conscious enough to be able to see it and make the shot. Now here's a shot by Ferit Onurlu, shot with a Nikon D800 and shot at 1/400th of a second at f8 at ISO 640. Now I don't know the story of this image. Obviously, Ferit here was positioned on an elevated position because he's shooting down on this subject who seems to be walking across this sort of grassy area, and he's smoking. And when I saw this shot, it completely arrested my attention. The way that the smoke sort of wafts around this guy, almost like in an S curve. The simplicity of the background, the whole color palette, everything about this shot I really, really liked. And I know there's some purists out there that would go, yeah, but it's not sharp. I don't care that it's not tack sharp, even though he's using a relatively fast shutter speed, and there may have been some camera motion or some subject motion or whatever, a combination of the two thereof. I do not care, because I look at this and I just go, wow. And what this reminds me of is, like, are there other opportunities where I can get away from just shooting at eye level? I mean, I do a lot of stuff where I bring the camera down to my waist level because I take advantage of the articulated screen on my NX500. I used to not think that I would like an articulated screen, that it would make any difference. But it's remarkable what opportunities that's creating for me as a result of being able to take it away from eye level. But this shot reminds me of, are there times when I can get the camera above eye level? Is it walking up a flight of stairs, or going up to another floor, or going into a parking garage and shooting down? What opportunities are there for me to get off of just photographing from the same position over and over again and making a shot? And it's not just about changing the camera position, right? It still speaks to the very same thing that we talk about week after week, about being aware of everything in the frame, owning the frame. And in this case, it's the background being as simple and as clean as this, so that when the smoke exits his mouth and his nose, that it's in contrast to everything else. I mean, the dark coat really helps a lot here in terms of helping the smoke be defined a little more. And even though we can't see his face, we see his beard, we see his hat. We get a sense of what this guy's sort of style is. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it's just about, if he had shot this at eye level, if he shot this from normal perspective, might he have been able to create an interesting shot of this guy walking down the street and smoking? Yeah, yeah. But how many other shots have we seen out there with people smoking walking down the street? It's trying to find different ways of seeing, different ways of shooting that I'm always wanting. I'm wanting to impress in my own mind. So when I go out and shoot, I'll be able to see it. I'll be able to recognize it. Because to some extent, people have said that you go out and you make photographs based on photographs you've seen before. That is part of what triggers us to make a photograph because we've seen it before, and somehow unconsciously or consciously we're trying to sort of replicate that. And I don't think that's a bad thing, especially if those images are helping you to develop a new perspective. And that's what I think all the shots that I chose today do for me at least. And lastly, here we have this shot by Rye. No exif information. Now, I see a lot of pictures of people shooting through windows. They shoot people behind bus windows or restaurant windows or bar windows. I see it a lot. And even though I see it a lot, and I see some very cool photographs that that do that very effectively, for the life of me, I hardly ever do it. And part of it is that I don't remember that I can, because I'm looking elsewhere. And sometimes something that's happening behind a window can be just as remarkable as something that's happening on the street. And here we have this condensation that's built up on this glass. And then we have this subject that's in the background. We're not exactly sure what they're doing. It looks like, if I try to turn that, it's a woman who's probably looking into her phone. She's in a bar or a restaurant, and there's some elements there. It looks like the red elements in the right are a seat. I'm not sure what that is on the left-hand side of the frame, but seems like she's sitting or waiting for something, or doing something with a phone. But I respond to this, and I don't look at it literally. I mean, the first thing that grabs me is just the color palette. You got those oranges, those reds, those blues, and then we have the texture of the window and the way the condensation, the detail on that. It's almost like an impressionist painting. And I look at this picture and I go, wow, would I have seen that? Could I see that? If I went out today and I saw a similar situation, would I be open enough to be able to recognize something not exactly like this, but along the lines of this, and be able to be conscious enough to go, I can make a photograph of this? And I'm glad that Rye here did it, because I think this is a beautiful shot. I mean, if you go back to the first image is really sort of complicated, and I think it's a sophisticated way of seeing. But this, I think, is, if not as advanced, still is a very different way of seeing. That's beyond the sort of average stuff that we often see when people post on images on Flickr. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do with these videos. Because as much as I do these videos to help keep me inspired, I'm hoping that it does the same for you. Because the millions and millions of images that are posted to Flickr and Instagram, most of the stuff is just okay. I mean, it's fine. But that's not why we go. It's not the reason we go back over and over again. We're looking for images that make you just go, ooh, wow, and make you think, God, I want to make photographs like that. And when I take a look at those photographs, I need to go beyond simply just appreciating them. I need to go beyond that and start really looking at, how is this person seeing? What did they respond to? And if you've been with us for any period of time, you don't see me talking a lot about technical stuff. We're not talking about shutter speed or apertures or white balance or any of that stuff here. And I know some people might want that, but that's not my focus for my work or anything that I'm doing. I'm so into just trying to see, because that, for me, is the harder part. The technical stuff will come as needed, but seeing, man, that's where the challenge is at. If you want to keep up with me, I post images to Flickr, but not as frequently as I probably should. I'm probably more active on Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, you can just follow me by just punching in my name, Ibarionex, and you'll be seeing the stuff that I'm doing. I'm trying to post something every day. I have been for quite a while now. And a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about here, you'll probably see reflected in some of the images there. So if you want to follow me there, please do. And also in February 13th to be exact, I am going to be speaking at the Los Angeles Center of Photography. They're having this event of street photography that entire weekend. And on Saturday, beginning at 12 p.m., they're going to have several different speakers there. Matt Stewart from In Public is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Julia Dean and some other street photographers, including some good friends of mine, are going to be speaking all day on the topic of photography, and it's just $10. So if you're in the Los Angeles area on that date, come by on February 13th. And if you are interested in taking a workshop with Matt, there's probably spaces still available for his workshop that is going to be held the following day, February 14th. And I'm going to be teaching a workshop next weekend, which is January 30th, at the Los Angeles Center of Photography. So check that out by just going to lacphoto.org. And if you like what we're doing here at the Candid Frame Flickr pool, you can join us by just asking to be added, and I'll be glad to do that. And if you're finding us for the first time and you've never heard of the Candid Frame, well, you're missing out, because I've been doing a podcast for nearly 10 years, which features conversations with some of the world's best and most talented photographers from all over the world, from various genres, and you definitely have to check it out. I have over 300 interviews up there, and they're all free, and you can check it out by going to thecandidframe.com. And again, if you like what you're seeing here, please subscribe and spread the word. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next time.